everyone, welcome to our Studying at NYP webinar. Today we have with us Mr. Lionel Chew. Lionel is the course manager of the Diploma in Sport and Wellness Management at Nanyang Polytechnic. And with him today, also 5 graduates of that program. We have, or rather 4, Martina Veloso, Terry Tay, Geraldine Chew, and Hannah Tan, and we'll hear more from these graduates later on. So Lionel, how long have you been at Nanyang Poly?
Too long actually. This will be I think my 26th year in the Poly, but in different capacities lah. So I started in the sports department and then transferred over to the School of Business Management where I am now.
And how long has this diploma been running at NYP? This one?
Many will surprise many. This is our 24th year that the program has been launched since 1996. So we're actually the first institution to provide a sport business program at tertiary level.
Okay, perhaps you could take us through in a little more detail what the diploma is.
Sure. Would you let me share screen?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So welcome to this presentation. It's a short one. I have about 22 slides, but don't worry, I'll just breeze through it. The full name is a Diploma in Sport and Wellness Management. A lot of people use the word sports, but you've noticed that in the academia, they don't use the word sports. It's a sports and wellness. So the course focuses on both sport and wellness and leisure aspects of the course. And we're parked in the School of Business Management at Nanyang Polytechnic. So I was just mentioning ago, this course was launched in 1996, and so this will be our 24th year that we are running. We take in a small number of students, 46, which is the year enrollment, and they'll be divided into 2 classes of 20, 22, 23 each. There are 3 admission exercises that the Polytechnic enrolls for this course. We usually go by the acronyms JEA, EAE, and then SDAE, and I'll go through each one by one. And these are the main exercise that you'll be enrolled in. So for athletes in the Sports Institute, the Youth Sports Institute, you will be interesting to know about these 3 exercises because they will then apply to you. So I'll just go briefly into what they mean and how they will apply to you. Okay, so the joint admission exercise is the yearly exercise that's conducted by MOE. This is usually in January when the results of the O-levels are released, the week after the results are released. Majority of the students are enrolled through the JAE. And if you do your O-levels, your secondary school, you would have the option of applying to the Sport and Wellness course, or SW for short from now on, through the JAE. You will be given 12 choices. Okay, and if you meet the MER, which is what is called the minimum entry requirement, you will be admitted into the course if you put it at first choice. Okay, I won't bore you into the details of how the JE works, but essentially it looks into the 5 O-level subjects that you will be taking and the aggregate score that you have to meet for the course of that particular year of enrollment. Now, these 2 other exercises would be of interest to you because as sports athletes, national athletes, these 2 will not just only look at your aptitude, they also look at your CCAs, or in this instance, your sport achievements and contributions at national level or youth level. Okay, so the early admission exercise does not look into your academic results, particularly at O-levels, okay? Because this exercise is done in June, if you look at it, so you will not have done your O-levels yet. You probably would have only done your mid-year exam. And so they will look into your secondary, your early secondary education, Sec 1, Sec 2, look at your consistency of results, and then probably do your mid-year result. And then based on those, you will be selected for the interview. And then you have an opportunity to tell the panel about your sports achievements and your competition, what you do in your training and so-called. And that would be what we will base your admissions on. It will be a conditional entry. In other words, we will give you a place provided you pass the interview, and then you still have to sit for your O-level exams. And then when your O-level exams results are released, and if you meet the minimum entry requirement, then you're granted a full admission into the course. Okay, so the early admission exercise is usually announced in May, June, okay, and then the interview is conducted thereafter. So look out for this, particularly if you're in Sec 4 now, okay, or you're doing your O-levels in 2021, all right? The other one of interest to cadre athletes will be this special direct admission exercise, and it's written in red there. This is for applicants with special talents. Is slightly different from the JAE, because JAE doesn't look at your special talents. It is primarily by your results, okay? Just look at the 5 subjects that you have. For the special direct admission exercise, and the word direct admissions here means that if you, for some reason, let's say you, the minimum entry requirement for sport and wellness, SW, in English, you need to score 6. But for some reason, maybe you scored a 7, let's say, yeah? And so you do not meet the minimum entry requirements, right? So you can apply through the special direct admission exercise using your sports talent and achievements as the supporting evidence for you to get into the course. And then we will have an interview for you to assess your suitability. And then the Polytechnic may have the discretion of letting you in. You may need to take an English test, for example, if you had a 7, or they may look at your Sec 1, Sec 2, Sec 3 English exam results and then see whether you had a consistent, maybe it was at the O-levels, it was a fluke that you got a 7, but prior to that you had A's and that kind of stuff. So there is, it is out of character, so they may look into that and then admit you on a discretionary basis. Okay, so these two, the early admission exercise and the special direct admission exercise, is of particular interest to the cadre athletes at the NYSI. Okay, so these are two things which I would like you to pay special attention to, and you can always send me an email or check on our NYP websites for these two exercises. Okay, this is just a snapshot of what you'll be looking for when the Polytechnic admits you. Okay, so you will have to look at this abbreviation. It's called ELR2B2. If you want to enroll in any Polytechnic, not just in SW, you're required to look at this ELR2B2. It's not a Star Wars droid. It stands for EL stands for English language. You need to have 2 relevant subjects, R2, and 2 other best subjects, B2, in order for you to be enrolled into the course. Okay, so again, I won't bore you. You will have this in your JE booklet when you complete your O-level exams, and your teachers will go through this with you. Of particular interest to cadre athletes is the CCA bonus points. So this will put you in good stead if you look at the table there, if you happen to have an A1 or A2, you qualify for 2 bonus points. So in other words, if you had aggregate of your EL R2B2 at say 17 points, if you have CCA at A1 or A2, you minus the 2 points and you have 15. Right, that means that you stand to get into the course minus the 2 points. So those of you who are doing your CCA, is a good opportunity to continue to try and strive to get an A1 and A2. And I think by this level of you representing at the national level, national youth level, you probably are already at A1 and A2. Okay. For SW, okay, our course code is C81. So remember that when you put in a JAE, that would what you'll be putting in. You won't be spelling the word, the course name. In 2020, the range of the ELR to B2 was 5 to 14, meaning the student who was enrolled, one of the students had a score of 5, meaning of the 5 subjects, he had 1 in each, A1 in each of those. And the last person to be admitted had 14 points. Okay, in 2021, we don't know the results yet because the O-level results will then be based on that range of the scores of EL R2B2. Okay, but as a guide, you would need to score at least 14 points, okay, to be able to get into the course. And remember, we only take in 46 students, so it's a small number that we enroll already. The list of courses you see at the bottom with the asterisks are the courses that would qualify you for the relevant 2 and the best 2 subjects. Again, this is all available on the website, and I won't go through them with you here. Okay, now I'll go into the course proper itself, and I will later ask some of the alumni to share, because the journey is what they've gone through as national athletes. Essentially, the course is a 3-year full-time course broken down into these phases. In year 1, because you're in the School of Business Management, you will be learning business and foundation studies. In addition to sport foundation modules, we find it essential that you learn the sport foundation modules in the beginning as well as you progress up to year 2 and year 3. In year 2, you will get more management and sport specialization studies. And then in year 3, you will not have any more study modules. In other words, you will have all your exams and projects in year 1 and year 2. By year 3, they're all practice-based. What we have is a teaching enterprise project and the integrated internship program, which I'll go through in the later slides. But underpinning all of these, you will see at the bottom, we try to infuse real-life practical training, leadership, character, field trips, overseas exchange programs, and educational trips in the 3 years that you're going to be going through the course. If you can and if you qualify, some of these, for example, the overseas student exchange program would be a very good exposure for you to travel. Probably not in this time of the year because of the pandemic, but in normal times, we have exchange programs in the US and the UK where you will go to a selected university program and spend a semester there to do the relevant equivalent subjects that you would have done in Nanyang Poly. Okay, we have field trips and guest lectures from industry to give you again a perspective of what the Singapore industry is doing in terms of trends and emerging areas. Okay, and also to give you idea of the challenges and the problems these experts face in the field as opposed to what you learn in the classroom. This again is a snapshot from bottom to top. These are the names of the modules that you'll be studying. Again, you can find this in our website, but the ones in bold are the ones that we, the Sport and Wellness section, will be delivering to you. So as I mentioned, in year 1, you have the foundation modules, and so you will learn sport exercise science, sport administration, and health and wellness. This is at foundation level, and this will build up as you go to year 2. And then when you go to year 3 in the internship and the teaching enterprise, you get to apply these things in a practical setting. Okay. Our classrooms are not just the typical tutorial rooms and lectures. Our classrooms are also the gym, and we have what we call a sports events management room. The pictures on the left. It simulates a sports event company where you will be doing events, both internal and external. External with companies outside there to expose you to the stakeholders, the suppliers, the sponsors, the event managers, volunteers. Okay, to be able to give you real life exposure to activities and events that are happening almost every weekend on a normal scenario without this COVID now, but things are slowly opening up. Okay, so our classroom is also the gym. We have a full-fledged sports gym in our campus, and students, sport and wellness students in the 3rd year, the gym acts as our classroom for you to be able to do your learning and projects there. Okay. So this is the teaching enterprise project. It's divided into 3 stopovers. Okay, it's a 21-week module, 21-week spread over 3 stopovers or training platforms. The first, or actually you will be going through all 3 depending on which group you're in, so there won't be any first or second. So I'll just name them as the SEM for short, which is Sports Event Management. You will be learning how to plan, manage, and execute sport events. The fitness club management, you'll be learning how to run a sports facility, particularly a gym. Okay, and to also conduct personal exercise classes and fitness programs. And the third is the lifestyle and wellness program. And I refer you to our diploma name, which is Sport and Wellness. And so we also have a concentration on the wellness portion. So this looks into our aging population, working with people with disabilities, working with the seniors, working with kids, okay, not just the able-bodied, where sports can also benefit them. So we have this teaching enterprise practical component where students will go through the 3 stopovers to then apply what they've learned in the 1st and 2nd year. All right. So if you remember, we have 2 classes of 23 or 22 students. One class will be doing the teaching enterprise project, okay, while the other class will do the internship. So these are just pictures and snapshots of some of the activities that we do in the teaching enterprise. Okay. So internship program is the other class. So in the end of the semester, you will then flip-flop the interns will come back on campus to do the teaching enterprise. Those who have done the teaching enterprise will go out and do the internship. And this again is just a list of companies that have taken in our interns, our partners. Is not exhaustive. There are many other companies, but these are just the regular ones we have taken in our interns, and we hope that maybe NYSI could continue with our partnership with us. We've had a couple of interns go over NYSI. I think one or two, I can't remember, in the past year or so. Okay, we have later on I'll share with you cadre athletes and national athletes can have what we call a self-placement internship, where we will have arrangements with you to see whether or not some of the companies that you'll be interning with can be somewhere where you can continue your training and your competition commitments and so on. All right. I was telling you about the overseas exchange program. This is currently on hold because of COVID, but Hampton University in the US and Northumbria University in the UK are the exchange partners where our students can spend a semester over there to do the sport management studies. And we've had Hampton and Northumbria students come to Singapore in Nanyang Poly to do the exchange program. Okay, we hope to resurrect this once air travel bubbles or whatever have cleared, and then we can resume this valuable exchange program, because the US and the UK are superb sport industry markets for you to learn sport management. We've done overseas immersion trips, and these are just some of the cities we've gone: Seoul, Korea, Bintan, Beijing, London, and the UAE. So again, we hope to be able to reintroduce this, not just the e-version, but not the virtual version, but the physical version once travel restrictions are lifted. Because once again, nothing beats going onto the ground to be able to explore their industry firsthand, to speak to some of their industry experts and to look at the products and brands that they carry. Because in Singapore, sometimes you're limited to just what you see on television and what you read in the media. To be able to go to these sport cities is a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. And we hope to be able to get our students to go onto these when things open again. So what we try to pack in these 3 years is this internship program of 21 weeks in year 3. We give you practice-oriented training. We hope to develop self-confidence, team spirit, and lifelong learning skills in you. And then hopefully through the internship program to be able for you to establish networks for you to start your work, maybe to do a further internship programs when you're in the university, for example, okay, or to be able to do projects with them subsequently in other capacities. In the course, you will get over 1,600 hours of real-life practical training, 12 sport management specialization modules, and 15 core business and management modules, as well as to have your degree, your diploma recognized by over 80, and I dare say more, both local and foreign institutions offering advanced standing and credits in both business or sports degrees. Okay, I have to be careful here and say that some institutions will give you the advanced standing without looking into your transcript, meaning your performance in your modules, while others will scrutinize your results a little bit more carefully and then apply the advanced standing, depending on the university that you want to go to. Okay, so maybe later on, Geraldine and maybe Terry can share about some of the advanced standing if and when they got any of these given to them. So I want to also share study arrangements and that we can do to customize if you are cadre athletes. So yes, you can come to Sport and Wellness, but what is it that you can look into? And again, later ask our alumni to be able to share whether or not they went through these arrangements that we do. We can customize your study program for you. I remember, and if Haris hasn't joined us, I remember speaking to Geraldine's parents. I remember speaking to Haris Harun's parents before they even started the course. We looked at their load. We looked at the 3-year program that they had planned ahead of them. And then we said, okay, we looked at our study calendar and we looked at their competition calendar and we tried to map these things. And then if and when it clashes, or if and when you require that sort of pre-preparation timing, we can plan for you a lighter semester load. Okay, we can also personalize your timetable. what I mean by personalized timetable. So for example, if you did a business statistics course, which starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, but you've already had a training program at 7, and by the time you finish your program and you come to campus, it will be 9 o'clock. So we can personalize your timetable for that statistics module to be in the afternoon, for example. Okay. If not, then you will take it at 9. So different days, you can personalize your timetable. A lighter load means, for example, if a normal student would take 6 modules, we can give you a lighter load of 5, and then you can spread out, which is the third point there, to maximize your study eligibility. You can go up to 10 semesters max. For a 3-year course, it's 6 semesters, right? 2 semesters in each year. The MOE allows you to max it at 10 semesters. Okay, and Terry can share, because Terry has tried to maximize as much as possible as he went for his competitions. And we both sat down with Terry and the Gymnastics Association to plan and customize his program for him. You can defer a semester, meaning if your competition and your preparation for competition falls smack into the semester, and you think your coach has spoken to your manager and say, hey, let's take this semester off, you can do that. And it's linked to the maximizing of your study eligibility. We can do that with prior planning. We have done many alternative tests and assessments or exams for our athletes. Meaning you, instead of taking the exams on the scheduled date, you go for your competition or your training, and then you come back and take an alternative exam at a later time without you being penalized, without you having to repeat that module or retake that module. Okay, so this can be done for you with prior arrangements. We have granted our athletes time off and early release for training, and this is not an issue if you tell us again, early warning to tell us on which days, and particularly if you need to travel. Consultation with tutors is always open, but the onus is on the athlete to contact the tutors, okay, to arrange for consultations, one-to-one, or additional training if you need to. Okay, with this home-based learning practice now, this is easier for you, because then you can now just go onto the Poly portal to be able to learn your lessons if you missed it online. Okay. I mentioned about self-placements for internships, and I think we placed this with Geraldine, with Martina, and I think also with Hannah. I think all of you, I think, because of your training and competition requirements, we make arrangements for you to be interned with a company that would understand the commitments and the requirements of national athletes. So we can do that, okay? And we have a partnership agreement with the National Sports Institute, and I'm speaking to Bina constantly, who have, if we have national athletes who can then be placed at the NYSI or, the SSI, if they have national commitments or training competitions coming up. Martina was an example of that. For on-campus sports facilities, it is something which we may not have the gymnastics facility, for example, for Terry, okay, but we have a full-fledged gym. We have a full-fledged campus sports facilities, and for example, if you don't want to travel all the way to the national stadium for your training, you can do the training on campus. And so we have these facilities that are available for you, and these are also some of the arrangements that we can do for you. We also have lectures for ex-national athletes, and they totally understand what you're going through. And I took a picture there of Louise Keng, who recently won the Coach of the Year. She's left us, but she's an example of someone who we have hired, who then understands what it's like to study and then train for competition as well. We have another athlete, ex-national athlete called Tok Lee Ching, who is an ex-national sailor. Okay, I used to play in the youth national team, but that was a long time ago. We have students who have gone on to study at NTU in the sport and sports science and management program. These are just a snapshot of some of our graduates that have gone there. And so for cadre athletes, this is just to tell you that if you did well at the sport and wellness course, and if you want to continue your studies in sport management, you can advance to the NTU. Okay, this is currently the only university in Singapore, at least in the local ones, that offer a related sport management program. Okay, and so it is a possibility that you can go into these areas. We have many of our graduates who have gone on to become entrepreneurs or businessmen in startups. And I would allude this to the teaching enterprise that we've done in the semester that you do. I was talking about, because you do your teaching enterprise in the 3 stopovers, fitness, in sport events, and wellness, and then that gives you an idea of what the gaps are in the industry. And then most of these people found out about these gaps because they networked with the people there, and then came out and then started their businesses in these areas. So there are many of those. I'm not sure any of you have familiar with some of these faces. Okay, so this is another possibility if you do not want to study or work and start a business in sport. We are the choice of these champions. Again, you see some of the names here and pictures. So some may not be familiar to you. They may be older national athletes, but I'm sure you recognize Haris. Geraldine on the left there, Lionel Lewis, not Lionel Theo. Martina right in the middle, Him Wei, and then Lewis. Terry, you're in there somewhere. We have 2 Olympians in this picture. Him Wei, who did in the London, and I think Helena right at the bottom, a weightlifter. Okay, so we have national athletes who have journeyed into this course, and I think you are in good hands, cadre athletes, if you want to come into this course, because we know how to manage national athletes. So our course, I won't sell it that way, but I'll let the alumni share their experiences. I just want to let you know that you are in good hands when you come to this course. We know how to manage your commitment in sport and your pursuit of the sport and studies as well. Okay, we are on social media. Okay, find us. Just Google Sport and Wellness. You should be able to find us online. And this is my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lionel. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and just speak up, or put it in the chat. Lionel, just now you were mentioning about the early admission exercise, and that this is good for cadre athletes because you all look at the Sec 1, Sec 2 results, and then the mid-year results in Sec 4. And then there's that interview where they have the opportunity to talk about their own accomplishments. It can be quite tough, right, for, say, a 16-year-old to come in for an interview. What have you noticed about interviews, and how should athletes prepare for that interview?
Okay, actually, it's a good point. The EAE, the early admissions exercise, is not the first time we're doing it. This is, I think, if I'm not wrong, the 4th or 5th year we're doing it. Prior to this, it was another name for it, a direct admission or something. Direct poly admission or something. It was the whole idea of this exercise is to give students an idea of the course that they want to enter, because they already know, they're already quite certain about the course that they want to do. It could be sport, it could be engineering, it could be aerospace, whatever. And actually, through the years, Leslie, I found that the students are better equipped in their interview skills, because the schools have now used the EAE as a platform for the students to be able to come in. So I find that the athletes are better prepared in their interview, particularly if they already know what the course they want to do. They would have already done their homework to find out about the course. And so actually, the students, the applicants are very well prepared, I would say. For this exercise. But the poly does prepare them prior to the application procedure. Nanyang Polytechnic, I'm not sure about the others, will have a session that will be done to prepare these applicants to do interviews, to write, they have to write a 500-word character essay to back up their application as well. And so they have these sessions for them to teach them, to prepare them rather on the interviews and how to write that essay. So they won't come in cold, basically.
So how long?
Sorry, just one more thing I forgot to add in that slide. The other advantage of the EAE, if you remember my slide, the 2020 O-level result, the ELR2B2 is 14 points, meaning the last person to enter was 14 points aggregate score. Now, if you entered through the EAE, this ELE2B2R2 does not apply to the EAE candidate, meaning he can come in with 26 points. So you're given this latitude right up to the 26 point to enter the course. The reason being because you've committed so much time in your sport and your training, so there might have been some give and take in terms of your studies, right? Because you've compromised a little bit of your studies. So you've dedicated a lot of your time, and as a result, you may not score so well in the English or math or so on. And that's why they allow you to come in with 26 points. And many of those EAE who have been successful has taken advantage of this procedure. Thank you.
So how would an average interview play out? And how long would that interview be?
Usually about 15 to 20 minutes. Because this year, because of COVID, we had it online. First time we're doing it, and I think it's first time for the applicants as well. But 15 to 20 minutes. Usually, because we've already read their essay, we already know what they're about. If they're national athletes, I would have probably got a separate email from Bina, or maybe perhaps in the future yourself, about who this person has applied for. And then we will then question the person about his understanding of our course, his expectations about what he wants to get out of this course, to be able to value him. And then, of course, to be able to understand what he wants to do with this course, ultimately, whether he wants to go and work in the industry, whether he wants to start a business, whether he wants to go and further his studies. Because we want to be able to match the student's interests with the course delivery. We don't want someone to come in just because he likes sports. A lot of them say they have a passion for sports, and when we query them further, their liking for sports, and we ask them, do you read the news, for example, about, can you tell us in the past 6 months what happened, what are some of the significant news that you have in Singapore, and they can't tell us. So their passion is a very vague and wide-ranging thing that some of them may not understand. They say, I played sports when I was young, but that's not passion. So we want to be able to make sure that they have an understanding of what our course provides, because our course is not just sport. Actually, we don't teach sport. We teach sport management topics. So in the course, we never teach them how to play football, for example. That's in the PE course. They tend to forget that they'll be learning economics, statistics, finance, accounting. And so we want to make sure that they understand that that's what they're going to go through in the year one. And if they stumble in those courses, and then they won't be able to enjoy their sport courses when it comes to year 2 or year 3.
Okay. I have one more question before I
Sure.
ask Izzy to take over and ask questions of your graduates. It's about the ability to max out their study eligibility. So essentially, you can go up to 5 years to finish the diploma. How many do take that opportunity to do that?
I only speak for sport and wellness because we have other students who also qualify for that, or rather not qualify, but who have exploited that advantage. So have you heard of the World Skills? So that's in the technical area, engineering and aerospace and so on. So there are some students who have done that as well. But for sport and wellness students, I think Terry, you're one example. I'm not sure, Jerry, did you? No, okay, Terry did it. Lionel Lewis did it. Okay, we've had students who, because of the way that the competitions came in, so we look at the competition schedule, and MOE allows you to extend it up to 10 semesters. Of course, if you do that, there's a price to pay, meaning you enter National Service for Boys later, you enter the market later. But the advantage is you get to go for your competition. You've been training for so long, and then still complete your diploma with full qualifications. Yeah, so that one has to be approved at the registrar polytechnic level, but I've not had any issues with them. If you can justify it with a letter from Sport SG or your NSA to say that you have this program in place, and if you work with me, and so far the NSAs and Sport SG have worked with me, the communications has been spot on, and we can plan it early. And usually your competitions, you don't know it 6 months ahead. You know it at least 2 or 3 years ahead, particularly. We can plan this without any major issues, and we can usually do it. Yeah.
Great.
Maybe Terry can share, because the last he extended, I think, Terry, 2 semesters. Yeah.
Maybe Terry, you would like to share a little bit about that, and then after that, Izzy can take over with the questions. But yeah, if Terry could talk a bit about how it felt extending it. I know it comes with some price to pay, but sometimes you take a different path and then the rewards come to you in a different form.
All right. Hi, everyone. Terry here. First off, thank you, NYSI and Nanyang Poly, for this privilege to share my experience. And shout out to everyone who is tuning in right now. live or we're recording after. Wake up a bit, the more theoretical segment's over, tune in, because the Q&A part is what you want to, that's why you're here, right? Because you're tuning in. So I remember how nervous I was or unsure of which course I wanted to go to. And probably you are feeling the same way. And I want to encourage you to just ask. Don't hesitate. Just ask if you have any questions. No question is silly. The silly portion is that actually you want to go into this course or you're not sure, and you go into a course which you're not interested in. I think that would be the most sad portion. So on to my 10 semesters, sorry. The 5 years basically. So in normal poly, you do 3 years. So I extended to 5 years. So I split my modules. Every semester was different. So you saw that in year 1 and year 2, right? Especially there was the more quantitative modules like there's business law, there's marketing, there's management, even accounting and stuff. So you can move that around, provided you have completed the year 1 modules which you have to pass first. But I think most importantly, what I garnered from deferring 2 years, right? Because Singapore, everyone's very kiasu, say, oh my gosh, I defer 2 years, I waste my time. So perspective is important, because if you see it as that, how the world sees it, to me, maybe it's very possible to say that, but if you do live for sport, I love gymnastics and I will never get to do it again. Never in my lifetime, at least. Yeah. But so I had the opportunity and I took it. So I went for competitions. I deferred my studies because I was supposed to enlist in 2014. That was the year of Commonwealth and Asian Games. So they were back to back. Yeah, so I met with Mr. Lionel, my sports association, my parents, and we managed to work something out to tailor and customize. So perhaps the only thing I lost out was more my social life because I trained so much, 30 hours per week. But more importantly, the reason why I chose to study concurrently as I competed, because Mr. Lionel mentioned you could take a gap, right? So you could just stop studying, not do anything. Something that looking back, I think was helpful. Personally, you don't have to do it, but it helped you continue to be there, because sometimes when you are training 30 hours a week, when you are traveling for back-to-back competitions, you get out of touch with what it's like to, I guess, be a normal teen in a sense. So there's different levels. There's high performance, and there's maybe club level or schools. So so it's important for me, I think, to just stay in a loop. I'm really thankful for teachers who are accommodating and they nudged you a bit. Doesn't mean that they accommodate is very nice and caring. Sometimes they say, hey, wake up your idea, what are you doing? You think go overseas can just play, is it? Yeah, so it's not all fun and games. You do your work, end of the day, you have to bite the bullet if you need to. But I think more importantly, I excelled and I learned what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses, what I have to work on. And that's to me what is education in a nutshell about. Because you can go through the whole process and you can be a really smart dude, get straight A's, distinction. If that's what you want, it's okay. That's great actually, because it helps in the Singapore system. But if you can't contextualize the theory to knowledge, which I was able to when I deferred, so I had a balance, right? I was traveling, I was still going back and forth. Half of the time, maybe you're in Japan or something competing, you do Google Docs. Okay, marketing theory is da-da-da-da-da. But through the back and forth, you learn how to, contextualize your theory to knowledge. And I think experience in life is key, especially perhaps because I'm graduating next year. Most people, when you go for interviews and stuff, they see your life experience, what you share, and being able to understand and just apply that to your life. It's more important. No one's going to ask you, hey, your R1, R2, B2, what? How is your English for O-levels? They are going to ask you that during your interview, unless you're English teacher. So it did benefit me. And if you have any other questions, just feel free to drop me a DM or a message. Happy to help. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that also, Terry. Maybe just a question to all the graduates, right? Basically, just want to ask you guys more on life as a NYP students. So maybe, the first question would be, what was your daily schedule in school like? Maybe I'll get Hannah to share first.
Hi Z, hi everyone. So I think my daily schedule in NYP was, at my peak, was actually training in the morning at 7 o'clock and then going for classes, doing my homework, and then trying to squeeze in some time to nap if I could. And then in the afternoon or to the evening, I had my second session for the day. So because I was doing the heptathlon and I had 7 events to cover, so I needed to do double sessions for certain days. So of course, it was pretty hectic, but I think what I really liked about the classes was that, number one, the lecturers really made the lessons really fun and really engaging. Okay, not all lecturers, but definitely the sport and wellness ones, such as Mr. Lionel. Definitely they would ask like really like questions that would really and get you on your feet, so that classes wouldn't be such a bore, where it's just a download session of information, but they actually make it engaging. So I think that's what kept me awake and kept me interested in classes. And so the whole day, as much as it was pretty hectic with training, traveling back and forth, I actually really look forward to going to classes. I didn't have to feel like I was dragging myself to school. I genuinely enjoyed going to school, attending lectures, and just even talking to my lecturers after class. Yeah, so for me, that was pretty much my schedule back then. Yeah.
Nice. Just a follow-up question on that. What challenges did you face trying to balance your sport and studies?
Wow. Okay, I think the first one that comes to my mind is just that worry that I wasn't doing enough for both. Yeah, so a lot of times I'll be asking myself, am I training hard enough? And am I studying hard enough? And before exams, I especially for the first year, I would get nervous before the exams because I felt, did I put in enough effort for this test, this module, or what I feel like, somehow I still feel like it's not enough. And sometimes I would just run myself into the ground, having late night study sessions, and that would affect my training and also affect my ability to focus in class sometimes. So I reached a point where I realized, okay, there's only so much I can do. And, if I have to manage all these things, then I need to trust that, every session is productive, that I am getting, the most out of every session. So I need to rest enough at night so that I can be 100%, or at my best, in my best mental state and physical state, be it on the track or in the classroom. Yeah, so I think that challenge was learning how to balance both, and learning how to take a break as well when I needed to. Yeah.
Right, thanks for sharing that. Maybe we'll move on to Geraldine. Geraldine, same question. What's your daily schedule in school like, and what are the challenges that you face trying to balance sport and studies?
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Geraldine. So at my peak, which was like training the lead up to the SEA Games 2015, my team had to have like multiple training sessions. So we had one in the morning and one in the evening. So it was really about trying to find the time to juggle between like the studies and also my performance in training. So I guess that was a difficult part on my end, finding the time. But I was just really lucky that NYP was able to help with the movement of my schedule, because in 2015 that was actually my final year. So Mr. Lionel actually helped me to switch my classes across to help to accommodate my training schedule. So we have different classes. We have 2 classes. So one's SA, one's SB, which does the rotation. So I was in SB, which was supposed to be with the to start with the academia first, followed by the placement programs. So I had to switch it around so to sort of get a flexible working hour in that sense. So I was placed with Sport SG Para Games to do my internship there, and then from there go to training. So like what Mr. Lionel actually explained earlier, we are put into organizations that can help that understand with our training schedules, and they're able to offer us early release without marking down your grades. So it was really enjoyable on that end, like meeting people who are like-minded, and at the same time knowing that you'll be able to focus on both your studies and your training.
Thanks for that, Geraldine. I think it's very assuring, right, to have a school that actually helps you in terms of managing the schedule and also flexible in changing the timetable and all. Yeah, Martina, hi, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Martina. Yeah.
Question is, what's your daily schedule in school look like? And then what challenges did you face trying to balance your sports and studies?
Okay. So I graduated in 2019 and I took a gap year. So I took a gap year after finishing my diploma to focus for the Olympics, but then COVID happened, so I decided to take another gap year. So I'm on my second gap year right now. Yeah, so I finished my diploma in 3 years. It was quite hectic. I didn't take any. I didn't choose to spread out my modules or take extra semesters because I wanted to show that it was possible to do your full-time studies and do your sport at the same time at a very high elite level, which I managed to do, but it's quite tiring. But no regrets. I enjoyed my entire time in this course. My classmates were very supportive and very understanding because, there's a lot of group projects. So sometimes if you don't get good group members, they will don't really care about you, but because they are aware that the amount of commitment I put to training, to my sport, and the competitions I go for the country I represent at major games is a lot, they were very understanding. So I'm very thankful for that. My mentor when I was in school was also Miss Lewis, Coach of the Year. So it was very easy for me to also share with my problems, how I'm dealing time management, because I have only so much time to train and so much time to study, and how can I fully maximize my time at both places. So it was quite tough. I did struggle because I don't have enough rest, and when I'm at training, I'm stressing out about school. When I'm at school, I stress about training. So it was having a good support system, which consists of my mentor, Mr. Lionel. They're very supportive as well. They work closely together with my coach and my NSA as well, because I'm a spec scholar. So a lot of things were put in place, making sure that the year runs smoothly with my competition. So at the beginning of the academic year, we will ask my NSA will pass my competition schedule for the entire year to Lionel and see how I can match my classes and my trainings and everything. So there's a demand that I need at least one off morning from a weekday. So Mr. Lionel was able to make that happen. Okay, you can get Thursday morning off, but this means I'll have to forego this module, which is, I can't remember at the time, I think it's business law or something. So I was not able to take it with my classmates. So, but it was possible to still do it. I was joining other business classes, I think I joined accounting or something. So they're not my classmates just for the entire module, but I was able to do it regardless, and they were still quite supportive, so it was okay. I travel quite frequently. I think almost every month for competitions. It's quite rare that I'm in class for 2 weeks straight or something. My friends are constantly asking me, so when are you going to travel again? And I'm always saying, next week kind of thing. Yeah, so it's constantly traveling, because every single year was a major game. So my first year was in 2016, so I didn't really travel much. But 2017, there was the SEA Games. And then in 2018, there was the Commonwealth Games and the Asian Games. So it was quite hectic for the last 2 years. But everything went pretty smoothly, I would say. One memorable thing that NYP did for me, Mr. Lionel, was that one of the exams, I think the final year exams, was clashed right in the middle of SEA Games 2017. and I missed the main paper, which is the first one. I also missed the MC people paper, which is the second one, because the major games is 2 weeks, right? So I can't make it for both. So they were very, very understanding. I was not the only athlete. There was also the hockey players. They decided to make a third paper for me. And this is not just for sports, sport modules. There was also business papers that I had to take. So they were all very understanding, and they actually made a third paper just for us to accommodate to, our commitment. So I think that was quite nice of them to do so. And I do appreciate all the support they have given me all this while. So yeah.
Izzy, before you continue, I'd like to just jump in here and ask Lionel, that your lecturers actually set an alternative paper. They take the time and effort to do that. That's a huge commitment, right?
For all modules, we have what we call an alternative paper. So we in addition to athletes, for example, we also have students who fall sick, right? You just happen to fall sick. So for examinable modules, you have to set 2 papers. One is the main and then an alternative. So that's always done. But in Martina's case, we cannot, because the main and alternative papers had already been exposed to those who had taken the main and the alternative, right? And so the third was set then for her and the other people who were absent, meaning that, I can't remember which module it was, they would have to set another additional paper. So these are rare occasions, but it's not something that I wouldn't say it's not easy to do, but it's also difficult because at that time when this thing happened, then you need to have a little bit more time to be able to set the paper. But I want to reassure the athletes who are coming in, we already have experience of doing this. And so if you give us enough time, and in Martina's case and most of the athletes who have here, because we work quite closely with the NSAs, we already know roughly when the competition schedules would be. Some things are not beyond your control because, for example, travel times. You may, the host country may then reschedule your competition day out of, your unknown, and then you go to the back and then you have an additional day. For example, it could be that. And then because of that, that may fall at the alternative exam day, and then you have to. So this if we have enough time, we have enough arrangement time preparation to be able to do that third paper for them.
Yeah, just a question for you, Lionel, again. Just for the alternative paper, right? Is that considered as a supplementary paper, or is?
No, not a supplementary. A supplementary means if you fail one, then you take another one. So there is an alternative. It's just a set B of the same modules. A lot of people think the alternative is harder than the main. It isn't. It's just that it's an alternative because you are sick on that day. You got chicken pox or whatever. You got travel, and then you take the alternative another time. Yeah. So it is not a supplementary paper. It's an alternative. It's the same topics that would have been covered in the main. It's just done in a different way.
Okay, thanks for that. Right, Martina, so how did you manage to get your time off and LOAs and all?
I just had to make sure when were my travel dates. I would fill up the leave of absence paper. So I'll get the official letter from my NSA on when, where I'm going and for how long. So I just submit that to my mentor and then they will process it, and I'm just traveling like again and again. So I fill it up quite a bit because, I have to fill it for every single trip I travel to. At the same time on that form, I will also have to state for which days I'm not around. So they'll show which modules I'm not around and for how long. So these classes I'm missing. But I will also be proactive and reach out to the lecturers and tutors that, I won't be around for this period. So is there any work I can do, I can bring along? And they're all very accommodating. So it's quite good. Not only the sport modules, but also the business lecturers. They're all very nice and understanding. Yeah.
Maybe a question for Lionel. So for the time off or leave of absence, right? Is there like a minimum number or maximum number, that kind of thing?
No, it all has to be backed up by official leave. So again, I would put to any normal student. So for example, a student who has to go for compassionate leave, driving tests, or some camp or something which they are selected for at a national level, they will apply this leave. So it's not just national athletes. The issue is not the absence. The issue is the number of classes that you've missed. So for example, you go for 2 weeks, fine, we can give you the leave, but you've got to miss 2 weeks of classes. So the onus is on the athlete or the person who've missed those to be able to kind of catch up on those lessons. You can do it online, but as you know, and Terry has mentioned it, I think you go for competition, there's very little time for you to go and concentrate on that. And the last thing you want to see is an assignment, right, or a tutorial. So when you come back and then all these things downloaded to you. So in a module like sport modules, maybe it's easier to catch up because they're conceptuals. But if you have a statistics module, accounting module, you may have missed step 3, 4, and 5 because of your competition. You come back, you learn step 6, but you've forgotten step 1 and 2, So you have to go and revise 3, 4, 5, and then you can do 6. So for modules that are qualitative, it's easy because it's conceptual, it's topical. But quantitative modules are a little bit harder. And so it depends on which modules, and your leave of absence is the onus of the athlete. We can grant you as much leave as possible, but if you don't come back and catch up on these modules and the topics that you've missed, it's going to be difficult. So going back to your question, there's no limit, but each of these LOAs must be backed up by an official document from the NSA or Sport SG. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe, Terry, would you like to share?
I don't remember a lot because that was, I'm not that old, but that was 4 years ago. But I do remember, also traveling. I didn't travel a lot, but I guess because I was doing spaced out modules, meaning that compared to the normal 5 or 6 you would do a semester, I think, I would do like 2 or 3. So that's why I could space out into additional 2 years or the extra like 4 terms. So stress will always be there. It's just how you cope with it. And one thing, like what Geraldine mentioned just now about like-mindedness, because when you go into this course, it's a cozy course, and you see numbers, they're under 50. That's a really small course if you really know, because uni there's like tons of people. I mean, that's our level lah. So like 50 people, 100 people, like you don't exist. So the lecturers actually take proper care of you. It sounds cheesy, it's not. It's actually very valuable because if you don't travel, you miss out on certain things. Like there's so many gears turning. Half the time you're like, oh my gosh, this sucks, or I'm stressed out. What do I do? So just ask. In your studying and stuff, they'll be more than happy to listen firstly, but they'll help you and see how they can, more importantly, make it feasible and realistic. And so friends are also a great avenue that help you. So as Martina mentioned that, okay, they might not agree with what you're doing. Sometimes they get frustrated, like, hey, you know why you never show up to present or something? And I actually did end up on occasion. This is not a bad thing actually, but I presented a module by myself. It's quite funny to the class. Looking back, that was kind of experience. But yeah, so like-mindedness is awesome because if you truly do love sport and you love sport and you want to, that's your passion, it helps a lot because these people eat, sleep, breathe sport. We're the crazy bunch playing frisbee during recess, where everybody's looking at you like, oh my gosh, that's so like uncool, I want to sit here and be pretty and oops, yeah, I said too much. But the point is that like-mindedness with your classmates help a lot because they bring up your emotions, especially your training is tough. I mean, we're all humans, but we're emotional. So you have a bad day or you have a good day, you have people to share with, who will probably understand you a bit more. So like in secondary school, I was like, hey, I got this achievement or something, then they're like, everybody's like, okay, no big deal. Or they don't know how to respond to your achievements or problems and you share. So as I mentioned, there's mentors and there are people that guide you along the way. And I think, I'm more about the abstract stuff, which I just find helps a lot because this thing is like a process of incubation. So together the lecturers and the system and structure that they have in place, which is pretty flexible, but at the same time, they ensure that, you don't slip through the cracks because sometimes when you're traveling, you're busy with certain things that is, you don't know what to do. So they know they will help you and they do have your best interest at heart. So I think long-term, they taught me how to think long-term. the course and the lecturers. Just looking back, I don't think I would see myself here today. Yeah, it's quite interesting how, you think back then, I thought teacher, mentor or something was pretty silly. Oops, sorry, Mr. Lionel. But yeah, I do see the value of it now because I learn when I talk. So I say, hey, how come like this? Oh yeah, actually answer my own question, that kind of thing. So this thing here, like-mindedness, good classmates really help a lot for the combination of stress and things that we can't really quantify.
Thanks, Terry. So I think you guys have already shared a lot about how the school support you as a student athlete. Maybe one particular thing that really stuck to you until today, what would that be? Hannah?
Wow. Well, one particular thing, if I had to choose, wow, it's actually a lot. Okay,
Share it then.
Okay. I think first of all, I really appreciate the lecturers a lot. Even after I graduated, I still keep in contact with some of them. And I mean, Mr. Lionel is definitely one. And I think from the past sharings that we've heard as well, can really see that the teachers and the lecturers are very intentional about mentoring. And like what Terry said, actually, they ensure that we don't slip through the cracks. And that was something that really touched me because I could really sense that genuinity in our lecturers, that they really, really wanted the best for all of us. And even when, some of my classmates, had moments where they were going through some personal problems at home or, were just on a downward spiral, sometimes not doing so well in their personal life and just taking it to class. One thing I really appreciate about lecturers is that they don't judge, and they're not quick to just scold us and tell us, just get your act together. But they actually take time to understand, and they really create that safe space for us to just text them and say, can we go to your office, can we have lunch with you? And that was something that I really enjoyed, something that I would always remember, those moments that we really had with our lecturers, to be able to share so openly with them. And I think that is why, some of us, we still keep in contact with our lecturers, and because these are relationships that we really value and treasure. And in experiencing such genuine relationships, we also learn how to be that genuine and to be mentors to our juniors, and to extend that kind of help and safe space to our juniors who actually look to us for help. And that was something that I encountered because after my internship with Sports Singapore, which actually landed me another opportunity to work in another department within that organization, I actually bumped into some of my juniors who were struggling during their internship. And I think it's just the culture of sport and wellness, that really is filtered down from our seniors and our lecturers, that we just want to help one another. And we're always there we are like a family in that sense. So for them, they would just openly share about their struggles and like, hey, Hannah, I'm, what should I do in this situation? I'm feeling like that, this and that. And having been through the internship experience in that same organization, I just take time to just listen and share with them, and you can really see your juniors grow, and for me as well, while mentoring them as well, I've also learned a lot and also grown a lot, and I think it's just like a paid forward thing, and that's something that I would really stay with me, even as I've graduated from the course. I think it's just this culture of generosity, of sharing, and this family-like culture that I think really Mr. Lionel has done such a good job in really creating, and that has also been a very integral part of our identity as sport and wellness students, that even when we leave the school and when we go into the workplace and we bump into someone else from the same course, there's just that connection, like, hey, we're from the same course, and there's just so much in common to talk about. And yeah, I think that is something that will really stick with me for life. Yeah.
Thanks, Hannah. Martina, how about you?
I guess my most memorable moment is when I graduated with my class. Like I did it in 3 years. I didn't really have much goals in school because I was too caught up in trainings, and like it was still my priority. Yeah, I was in school, but like I was in school to just be there and do my homework and everything. I'm not trying to be number one. I'm not trying to get a 4.0 GPA kind of thing. So I was so I graduated with my class. Although in the last year I swapped classes. Like I managed to be, so each cohort has 2 classes. So I managed to be in each class. I had a really good time because everyone was so nice. No one, I don't know, maybe because I'm a national athlete, but everybody was super nice and very genuine. They were very sincere about it. They were very understanding. I was able to connect with them, and they are able to, sometimes even though they see me train so much and put so much work into training, they also question me about and other kind of other than just seeing the spotlight and all the nice fancy things about being a national athlete. They also ask why do you do it? You put so much effort. Does it always go your way? Like they see me in class, I'm very tired. They can see I'm drifting in lectures and stuff like that. So they're also very helpful because they take pictures of notes when I'm not around, especially for those business modules. Accounting is so difficult for me. So they would be very understanding. Sometimes they would give me a Zoom call. No, last time it was Zoom, Skype. Yeah, so Skype. So yeah, they will teach me through Skype. They're all very nice and understanding, even though they're not national athletes. They're able to relate because sports. And I think if I were to go to a normal course, maybe business, no one would be able to empathize what I'm doing. They won't be able to understand the kind of commitment I've put and the amount of sacrifices I've done. So it's quite nice. And my goal was to graduate within 3 years, which I did. And on top of the crazy competition schedule I have. So that's my most memorable takeaway from Nanyang Poly.
Terry?
I don't have one thing that trumps it all, but off the head I can think of my year 3. I did 5 years, but I did we had this events management program. So I had really a lot of fun with that. I'm a kinesthetic learner, and that really appealed to me because we had to coordinate and actually do hands-on stuff. So that's where I think perhaps I garner the most experience and knowledge, because theory is just theory. Anybody can study, but to really experience and see what you're studying put into practice. So we hosted an agile night trail for 2,000, 3,000 people, something like that. That was in 13 something. Yeah, but so it's pretty insightful because they actually gave us the roles to run the night trail. So it's not water point or usher. Okay, hey, here's your bag collection. Here's your tag. Yes, we did do some of that, and you do learn through that. I'm not downplaying the duty of that, but through different experiences, especially on that one, I remember wow. So this is running a true event. This is a taste or a pinch of what real world is like. Because I think if you're shouted by, what you think the real world, what it's going to be like, you're going to be in for a big disappointment, because when you go to the working world, it's tough. So at least you can taste and see that what you're studying is real and how that contextualizes to your life. Else, it won't really help. So that is it for me. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Terry. Last one, Geraldine.
I think my most memorable moment is sort of, the time when you spent with your batchmates, your classmates, just chilling at North Canteen. So for us, the sport and wellness group, because we're really small, so we actually have a little corner where we gather around. So that was during my time. I'm not sure about now, but it's a specific sport in the canteen. So it's just really hanging out, like what Terry said, playing frisbee with your friends during lunch. And just having a good lunch break with one another, catching up, because I traveled quite a bit as well, had to go for competitions. So having the opportunity to sit down, to catch up on work and catch up with our lives, I think those were really good times. And to top it all off, I think SW is really like a family for life, not only your friends, but as well as your lecturers as well. I do keep in contact with the lecturers, and from time to time we meet up. So it's really valuable in that sense for me. Yeah.
Okay, we have come to the end of today's webinar. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, Geraldine, Hannah, Martina, and Terry. And Lionel, I must say, you have run such a tight and welcoming program and made it a family for all your athletes that they speak so warmly of it. So, kudos to you. Thanks for taking the time to share about the diploma as well. So if you are a National Youth Cadre athlete and you've been listening to this and you have questions, please feel free to get in touch with us at NYSI, and we will be more than happy to answer your questions and also put you in touch with Lionel, and I'm sure Lionel and his team will be more than happy to help you along as well. So thank you for joining us today. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Jerry, Terry, Hannah, Martina.
Okay, thanks.